Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Strap yourselves in because today something monumental has taken place on the XRP ledger. I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense. We have the permission domains that have now been active and are active on the XRP ledger. And we also have the permission DEX that is now activated too. We're going to look at what David Schwartz has to say about this himself, and how these two features have been a barrier to the 300 plus banks and partnerships that Ripple has had, actually bringing those billions of dollars on chain. And then we're going to look at a clip from Apex, from Antonio, who really talks about what the DEX is, what it's going to do, what they're trying to do, and why XRP is a golden ticket in all of this, and some of the opportunities that are going to come out of it in regards to revolutionizing via XRP the traditional markets and how they work. And this ultimately is why, when we talk about yield and yield strategies and the leveraging of this DEX and these abilities that are now going to enable institutional adoption of XRP and the XRP ledger, this is why I think we've seen very timely launches of public companies like Evernorth that are kind of not just XRP DAT, but XRP kind of companies that are going to leverage the underlying asset to garner yield. This will all make sense as we go through this video. But this is pretty huge. I wanted to share it with you all as always. I don't think enough work's been done in regards to XRP's DEX, which they've had really since inception. But features like this, the ones that we've had activated today, are part of actually taking it from being available to desirable by the institutional world. This is the permissioned domains. They just got activated on the XRP ledger. We have credentials that came before this. Now we've got the permissioned domains. The next step, which we're going to look at right now, was to get the permissioned DEX. And there was only a few votes to be had on this. And I can confirm to you guys that the XRP ledger today had both the domains and now the XRP ledger permission DEX activated on the XRPL. So this is absolutely huge. This amendment is going to be enabled in 2 weeks. So we now have a fully compliant enabled DEX allowing the facilitation of institutional transactions on XRP. This is a major milestone. This has happened today, the 4th of February, 2026. Again, the backdrop of me bringing you this information is disarray. It's a horror story in regards to retail sentiment right now in the cryptocurrency space. However, it continues to just go from strength to strength. And the majority of the price action that we're seeing has a lot to do with Binance and what they did, more broadly Bitcoin, which really at this point, the space needs to move away from. I said that yesterday, I got a lot of kickback. It's not that I don't recognize Bitcoin as a store of value, but this innovation that Bitcoin introduced to us in the form of distributed ledgers, the broader space will engulf Bitcoin in terms of usage to the orders of magnitudes, hundreds of times. And what's happening with XRP today is a part of actually all of that coming to fruition. So what I want to do very quickly is just show you this tweet here. This is from David Schwartz. Ripple has 300 plus bank partnerships, but after 13 years, shouldn't there be billions in daily on-chain volume? I think there's a number of reasons why institutions have historically preferred to use digital assets off-chain rather than on-chain. I think we're close to changing that because institutions are starting to see benefits of moving on-chain. We're seeing all of them do so, despite retail being desperate right now. But I agree, it's been very slow. Even Ripple can't use the XRPL DEX for payments yet because we can't be sure a terrorist won't provide the liquidity for payments. Features like the permission domains will help address this. And of course, what have we had go live today? Let's dive over to what Antonio, who is one of the heads of enabling all of this, had to say in regards to the DEX at large, what they're trying to do, and some of the features that they were going to bring to it when this was filmed 7 months ago, that are now enabled today And then we're going to get into his kind of bigger picture of this is going to go far beyond just FX to FX. This is likely going to go from asset to asset of all kinds, value to value. And XRP is this kind of golden ticket in regards to being superior liquidity, an enabler, a kind of global bridge asset that can apply to all value that will sit in the middle of what they are looking to enable. And this is why you have companies like Evernorth that have spawned so that they can ultimately leverage all of this, knowing that it's coming and we're kind of here now. And there's opportunities with that in terms of market making and yield and such. So, number of clips, we'll speed them up. Let's dive into clip number 1.
Reasons why these things take this much time? Because people make money off the inefficiency. This is what happens, right? Our goal here is to actually see how we can simplify this. We can bring this on chain, and we can actually make this work. So what's really the opportunity here that we have? Imagine a world in which you're able to actually start to do some of the stuff where payments did not take days, they were actually instant, right? Low cost. I mean, who doesn't want low cost? My favorite thing in the world is cheap, fast, good. You've heard this? You can only have 2 of them. I always love it. It's like the cap theorem thing, but I want cheap, fast, and good, right? This is what I want. And this is what I think we can get. So this resiliency, this always being on, the fact that you don't have people who are like, hey, guess what? Our payments, it's Sunday, there's no more payments, right? That's not how these things need to work. To meet the modern demands of our lives and actually like build this next generation, this is what we want. I hope we all see this and like, I want that thing, right? Now, how do we actually get this thing? So another part is like, what's the actual addressable market size? Again, like payments is a big thing. Now, what I'm starting to do here is not just to show payments opportunity, but to show what the decentralized exchange is, because I feel like that a lot of what these things are used for in the past has really not been for, I don't know what to say, but like infrastructure. It's really been for how do I get a meme coin? But again, these are good things. But from my perspective, the opportunity to move from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges, I love that. Like, it's not your keys, not your coins. This is what happens. This is the beauty of what we can have a decentralized exchange.
So that's a nice kind of overview of what is being undertook here, or what they're ultimately trying to achieve, the market they're going after in regards to the XRP DEX. Let's move on to some more kind of nuance and a little bit more in regards to how it works and what some of the features are.
I think the XRP ledger is a stronger solution for payments. I don't know if this is controversial or not. I think it's a stronger solution for payments than it is for trading. There's inherent latency. Like, are you going to be faster than a centralized exchange? Are you going to have sub-millisecond latency? No, you're not going to. So why try? For me, payments is the use case. If I compare it to high-frequency trading, you're not going to win. If I compare it to the other side, which is slow settlement FX markets, slow settlement payments, I think it's fast for that. The other part that I think is potentially novel here, right, is on-chain FX. So not just doing pure crypto to pure crypto. Again, if I'm trying to do payments use cases, for now. In the future, when we have a purely digital world in which everybody is able to spend their assets, I think that this might be different. But for now, having high-quality stablecoins with, again, the trusted part of this, I think that this is a really key part for institutional adoption. As much as we all love decentralized exchanges, why do people use centralized exchanges? Right? It's simple, is that if you are a low-risk, big enterprise with a lot of money, you don't like losing money. You don't actually like introducing compliance risk, legal risk, counterparty risk. So what we have here, I'm going to go over some new features, but I think permission domains, I take this a little bit of my journey with these, but I think that this is really one of the key features that makes not only the XRP ledger different and the DEX different, but I think it makes this a good use case for payments. So last one, which I think is really important, and I think this is kind of cool, right? Worldwide payout network. So this might seem like, oh, of course we want that. But if you think about the difference in a US dollar in USDT, USDC, or USD, there's a nice part of this, which is I have the stable asset, which we like. I also have the settlement piece, which we also like, and I think that this is what we've known and loved, is we have the settlement part, right? The part that I think that we're missing, though, is because I own those things, I don't automatically out of the box get a payout. So I can give you the stable coin. I can't convert back into US dollar and actually pay somebody. I can't get a Mexican stable coin, deliver it to somebody in Mexico. So for me, creating this permission network where we have a variety of different stable coins, multi-denomination, and for being in this network, since it's trusted, you know who you're dealing with, you also get the right for having the asset to actually do a third-party payout. I think that that's pretty compelling. I think that this is novel.
So I mentioned a couple of things there, one of which is the permission domains. That's now gone live. The permission DEX is coming in the next couple of weeks. I mean, this is a major milestone. If you think about, like, I'd mentioned at the start, we kind of need to move away from Bitcoin. Well, that defines, or in doing that, there needs to be a defined foundation or fundamental to these other chains. And what they bring to the table, Bitcoin is a store of value. It's not a peer-to-peer payment system. That was hijacked. We've seen a lot of things come out over the last week in regards to tampering with developers. funding of them from a certain individual. We don't want to keep going over that. But these other chains need to define what their fundamental use case is. And this is one of XRP's. And it's interesting. Let's get into the next clip.
I'll go quickly through the end-to-end flow. So again, like what do you actually need? Again, simplifying this so we can make sure that what we're looking at here is again going to be like this separating these concerns here. So again, on one side, we actually have a sender. I use the flow here. I have RUSD going in. So fundamental problem here, you have somebody who wants to actually send something to somebody with a third-party payout. So again, within the overall XRP ledger, the overall XRP DEX, we've created a permission domain here. And again, I see this as like a private room per se, or like a place where you're making sure that all of the participants in here are actually good actors. They're in the system. You can have trust in the same way that you do with a centralized exchange. This is why you go to them, because you don't have to know all of their participants, but you can actually be sure that somebody else has made sure that there's no money laundering, there's nothing nefarious happening. It's all above board. You can have your compliance team happy with this. So the main part here, again, is this order book piece, right? So I think we've talked about this a little bit, but creating, again, this tokenized asset. Again, in this case, I'm trying to show Colombian pesos. I think when you actually see the path here with the liquidity provider, the key things that I'm looking at here are what again, going a little bit later on what actually is going to make this thing really sing, but the ability to have really solid, fast, not only like rails to the actual payout, but to be able to actually have really good mint redeem functions. This is something that's actually going to be critical. So if this world that I'm trying to paint here, we have a variety of assets for the ability to buy this with, you have the liquidity on there. Imagine this marketplace where if you wanted to do a payout in pesos, you just buy a peso. You have the ability out of the box to be able to do that. I think that this is pretty compelling, and I think that this is something that you cannot do on other decentralized exchanges. And I think that a lot of the challenges, again, are going to be around not just liquidity, but it's going to be around this, with this walled garden. You're actually making sure that the people and the participants in there, we have success with it. So I went through a little bit of a case study here. Again, trying to say when the sender wants to initiate this, you create the quote. I think you guys know this flow. You go through the permission decks. You actually execute these atomic swaps, which are beautiful. We can make sure that when you actually want to send something, you don't get halfway through and then have to do this refunds again. A lot of payments is around edge cases and actually around like, how do I fix when the unhappy path these things don't go well? For me, this is the part another one of the beauties here is these atomic swaps where we can make sure that when things go through, my intention is to actually send it to the end payer. It actually goes through.
So this DEX could be a fundamental change in regards to how payments are done. This technology that they're looking to enable is revolutionary, and I think that's why you had the backers that you did in the early days, because they always understood that this technology is going to bring about a broader change to the world, just like the internet did. And we're still very early on that journey. Let's play this next clip.
I think that first of all, the DEX is built for payments. It really is. And I think that you can look at this as really a feature. I think that not a lot of other DEXs, they can kind of do this. They're built for trading. This one really is ideal for payments. I think that that's pretty cool. Enabling institutional adoption. This is another part of just being part of Ripple ecosystem. We have the deep ties into the institutional pieces. Being able to make sure that we're continuing on this path. I think that this is the strength. It's being the adult in the room, which I've heard a lot of saying. But it's also making sure that we're bridging the gap between the traditional finance systems. We're partnering with them, with banks, with those rails, providing an on-chain ecosystem as well. Again, the public stablecoin is really the thing that I think is interesting here. Is imagine if I had everything locked into this little ecosystem and I'm creating liquidity for it. It's like, it's great, but you can't access that. For me, driving the demand, if you want to enter this, we have to have XRP in the flow. We have to have RUSD in the flow. If we had like a Euro stablecoin that was also publicly issued, here, being able to bring that from external places into this ecosystem, that's where this actually drives the flywheel in demand. If I needed XRP to start in this flow, demand's obviously going to go up. If I want to get in this, you got to buy a ticket to be able to get in the, in the door. That's the ticket that you actually have to get.
Just quickly, he highlights XRP there, and XRP's value is going to be on its usage. He very much admits that. If you need XRP to partake in all of this, you kind of need to have that golden ticket to be a part of it. Let's continue.
Put through 20 million, 30 million. I see this a lot in startups. It's like you can make this unit economics make sense up to a limit, and as soon as you start hitting, imagine. So I think that this is where some cool things are. So collateralized lending is pretty cool. So just to give you an example of what this part is, imagine if, again, capital efficiency here, you're a company who wants to be able to put through 20 million, 30 million. I see this a lot in startups. It's like you can make this unit economics make sense up to a limit, and as soon as you start hitting the bounds of actually the cash that you have on hand, cash starts becoming really important. If you can't actually move this through, what you actually want to do is go through people like prime brokers. What they do, and actually what you can do here, you can deposit assets so you will not have to liquidate them. You can actually get loans that collateralizes off that. So I've wanted to do $5 million in in trading and payments. If I had $1 million in Bitcoin, $1 million in XRP, and I was able to hold that without actually having to sell it and to trade it, and then being able to be lend off that, and then having the settlement process where you can actually recycle it. This is a really, really strong thing. And again, this is why prime brokers exist. This is their business model. I think being able to do this on chain, I think this is pretty cool. And for me, if you have the payments network with the rails, this is what OTC desks cannot do. They can have FX, they can do this quickly. They can even give you some collateral. They don't do third-party payouts. So for me, combining these things together, I think this is pretty cool. This is a new model. The other part for me, so I like, and it's a boring thing, but treasury management, this is a big piece of it. But if you think about any multinational corporation, if you denominate, let's say you're denominated in US dollars, every single time that you actually have to, like, hey, I'm trying to buy Mexican pesos, you have to be able to hedge your accounting. You have to be able to do mark-to-market accounting. A lot of these complicated things, there's not a lot of solutions that exist that do both crypto well and fiat well. For me, this is some of the things that once we actually have this flywheel doing, you'll be able to run your treasury management system that are in these native stablecoins in these countries off the back of this, be able to do your rebalancing. This is cool stuff. The last part for me, tokenized real-world assets. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, like NFTs, I love these things. And for me, where I think that this can eventually go is these real-world assets of tokenized securities. When I have this liquidity, I have this actually like approved network that I know my participants in here, I start to be able to leverage a lot of these other use cases, which become pretty cool. I've always had this idea of like being able to aggregate your wealth in one place, being able to say, when I can, world where I can tokenize my assets, I can be able to put these things together and actually create these liquidity pools. And one of these other pieces I've always thought is like, could I pay groceries in frequent flyer miles? Like, why not, right? And I think that this is the case that you can start to get here, right? Which is that, like, if I have my assets and my wealth in a place where I can tokenize them, I can bring them on chain, I have a secure place to be able to exchange them, I start to think some of these things are actually not that far off. So this is what I'm excited about in the future. I hope you all at least learned something here, and I hope you all enjoy this. But yeah, I think this is something. This is a new world. So thank you.
This is the kind of big picture of where this is going. Eventually, it'll be asset to asset, and this kind of entirely new market that we're looking at. But this was a really interesting video. I don't think many people understand the DEX. I don't think many people understand what it's trying to do. Hopefully, this video has helped you understand that. And XRP is literally an integral part to everything, and we're early as a space, and XRP is early in regards to its journey to fundamentally change the markets, and I think that could be a very bright future for it. That's why I own it. What you guys choose to do is entirely up to you. Nothing we do or say here is financial advice, just our own opinion. But we think there's a lot of demand coming for XRP as an asset, because it is a golden ticket, to kind of quote Antonio there. That's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks everyone for watching. See you in the next video.